Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Kev back here with another Animal Jam video, and in today's video, guys, I thought as, kind of a Christmas special, let's say, I could go over all of the glitches in terms of the Jamaalidays on Animal Jam, because surprisingly, there is a lot of them, and because of a lot of these, it created a lot of rare items in the game as well, some of which are some of the rarest items in the game nowadays. So this video is going to be kind of separated into like 3 sections. One section talking about items that were just released into stores during the Jamaalidays that were glitched. One section going over the Jamaaliday gift calendar and also going over why that was removed. And then third of all, just going over just general uncommons that are Jamaaliday items that are considered to be some of the rarest items in the game. Alright, so to get us started here, I guess we'll head on over into Jamal clothing, because Jamal clothing is kind of a main topic in terms of some of these glitched items being released, because there is surprisingly a lot of glitched clothing items in terms of the Jamaaliday items on the game. A lot of these, originating from about 2015 to 2017, I would say, is when a lot of these were common. 2018 maybe, but a lot of these were about 2015, 2017 when they were all released. So let's talk about them here first. The ornament earrings, I'll put the glitched versions on screen right now. It's pretty much like a lighter version of the normal ornament earrings you see here. They're not worth a whole lot from what I last checked. They used to be worth a lot more when they were first found out about, but obviously it was swapped around with this normal variant here soon after it was released into stores in its glitched variant, and once it was swapped out, it wasn't worth a whole lot a few years onwards, of course, but you can still find them nowadays. There's a lot of them in the game. I tried to hoard them all, collect a bunch of them up to try and make them rare. Unfortunately, that did not go as planned, but the ornament earrings are a pretty fantastic item regardless, so I'm glad they do release these. But the glitched variants, they were released accidentally and then swapped out with the default variant here that we see now all the time. And then also, thankfully enough that this is in stores here, means less editing for me, but the festive lights, these were released as members only originally, and it actually has 2 glitched variants to it, which surprisingly not a lot of items in the game that actually have more than one glitched variant to them. But this one, which is such an irrelevant item, I would say, the festive lights, it does have 2 glitched variants, one being a pure magenta variant, go figure, and then one of them being pure magenta but a little bit of green on it, presumably because a lot of these festive lights were supposed to be with green entanglements on them, I guess. No idea why this happened, but I believe they were originally releasing on the Jamaaliday gift calendar when they were initially releasing festive lights, but I think there was some confusion because it ended up getting released into stores as well as members only, and at the same time was released as non-member only gift calendar as magenta. I'm not too sure if I'm remembering correctly or not, but I'm pretty sure there was videos back when this happened and some people were not even able to accept the gift. It was really funny, but yeah, those are in a huge abundance though. They are not worth a whole lot. I think a few den betas at most. It's probably the most common glitched Jamaaliday item actually, but the festive light as well as the ornament earrings are pretty fantastic items. Now unfortunately for me, some of the other items I want to go over aren't available in stores at the moment, or I don't think they will be, so I'll have to throw them on screen when I'm talking about them. But next here is the Jamaaliday branch antlers. Some of you probably expected this. The default variant was actually glitched initially and they swapped it out for the normal version. I'll put them on screen side by side right now. It is a very subtle difference. I don't even know why they bothered changing it, to be honest, but they did. I don't know if it was glitched originally or if it was released one year as a certain color and then the following year it was released as different. Regardless, when these originally did get released, a bunch of people bought them, but it wasn't too popular, and then the following months they just got absurdly rare for some reason. But then when they got inevitably re-released, it came out as a non-glitched variant. I don't think it's actually considered glitched, but that's what the community considers it as. They probably just re-released it as a different variant, hoping to get as close as the normal one as possible. But a lot of the other ones, like this one here, they were pretty much exactly the same as normal. I have most of them here as well, as you can see. The good stuff. And the next item here, it was actually released in January. I would consider that around the Jamaaliday season though, because the Jamaaliday music still is in January. So the furry hat, everybody knows the magenta furry. They see it all over. It was originally released in this hot cocoa hut here, right here. The white variant was initially glitched, where the white outer fur was just pure magenta. magenta. That was probably due to an error with the color ID of the item. And a couple hours after it was released, it was swapped out with a normal white version that was replaced and could be bought instead. The people that obviously bought the normal magenta furry obviously hit a gold mine with that. I think a few people after ended up rounding up a bunch of them and then recycled them all, which is going to be a future video talking about when times people have done that on the game, because it's happened surprisingly a lot. But yeah, that's the magenta furry. Obviously there's the fake magenta furry. That was when Animal Jam just kind of copied the color of the normal magenta furry and made their own, or tried to make it as close as the magenta furry was, and you could tell they messed up because one, a snowflake is lighter than the other, and that was given out as a contest prize. I don't think it's given out anymore, so you don't have to worry about you know, the rarity of either of those items going down because of the wrath of AJPW, but you know, still worth mentioning nonetheless. Now next we're talking about the Jamaaliday gift calendar. This had an abundance of items that were glitched, and I mean an abundance. People consider it to be glitched or just unreleased variants. There is some items here that were actually glitched, but a lot of them were considered to be glitched but were actually just unreleased variants because of an error in terms of the Jamaaliday gift calendar. So the original first item that I would think is actually the first glitched Jamaaliday item that was released on the calendar was the gingerbread mask. Now you're probably all familiar with this. In fact, I have one of them here, and this was also released in the Jamaaliday gift stand a couple days ago, but this originally was glitched. It was originally not supposed to be released in this color. This is actually an error variant from what I know, and the original colors were supposed to be these ones that were just released a couple days ago. In fact, all of these variants were in the game's files for actually a number of years, but were never released. This original variant here was actually in the game at some point. I believe through the use of third-party programs, someone was able to obtain one through the Jamaaliday gift calendar, so it did have the function of giving out this variant, but this was the one that was given to most players. And the reason this was glitched is because it didn't have the name gingerbread mask. It had the name of like #6835 or something. I'll throw it on screen. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was called something in terms of like that. It wasn't called a gingerbread mask anyway. And later on it was obviously renamed to the gingerbread mask after AJPW figured out. This was in the game, as I said, for a short period of time before the person who ended up trading for it got banned with it, and then it was pretty much non-existent in the game again. But this was, I presume, to never be an original variant. They never intended it anyway, and I think that's an interesting thing, fact about the gingerbread mask that not a lot of people know about anyway. And in fact, a lot of items in the game are like this. Speaking about gingerbread, the gingerbread top hat, it was also like this. This magenta is what a lot of people call it, even though it's like a raspberry kind of color. The non-member version specifically of this was originally a unreleased variant. Same with the midnight purple holly wristband. However, this was never seen in the game legitimately until it was actually released into stores normally, because nobody actually knew this was a variant that was unreleased in the calendar at the time when people were hacking in the 8th variants, which I will delve into here in a bit. And then other item like candy cane socks with black socks. These were kind of the most popular items out of these unreleased variants, and the most sought after anyway, because a lot of people love this item. And when these started showing up as few of a kind, people were going insane over these. And there was also other items like the Jamaaliday wreath hat. I'll put the 8th variant. Usually if I'm speaking of these items, I'm talking about the 8th variant being unreleased. The snowflake balloon as well, I'm pretty sure. The Jamaaliday leg armor was also another big one. I believe the holiday sweater as well, actually. That isn't one that's pretty known about. But the dark red variant was originally considered to be glitched by a lot of people because they didn't know it was an actual variant. This is more known about and was more obtainable than the other variants I'm talking about here, but this was still one of the 8 variants that were considered glitched or unreleased. The neon bow as well, however, that was ended up released into the calendar normally in a proper way, but I don't know if I have one. I don't, but I'll throw it on screen. Most of you probably know what the neon bow looks like. This was considered a rare and unreleased item like years before. I think the very first Jamaaliday gift calendar bow and arrows showed up on, and this was like considered like an unreleased item when it first showed up back in those days. So it's funny to think that was actually a way hackers were able to obtain a neon bow is through the 8th variant of a bow and arrow. And you're probably wondering why I keep emphasizing 8th variant. I will get into that in 1 second. But the last item I would talk about is the Jamaaliday scarf, the tan scarf in specific here. This was actually unobtainable through the calendar. However, it is obtainable obtainable. It was obtainable beforehand, before it was released into the calendar as well. I believe it was put into stores at some point, so people did have this. However, it was made rare because it showed up in an Apari video or something that someone said that it was worth this and you couldn't get it in the calendar, and then him freaking out about it just made it rare. So that's the story about that, I guess. But this is also the 8th variant of a Jamaaliday scarf. Now, the thing is, with 8th variants, you can't get the 8th variant of a clothing item off the Jamaaliday gift calendar. Or I should say, you couldn't, because they don't do the Jamaaliday gift calendar anymore. And this is probably the reason why. The calendar was fundamentally broken. If you tried to get anything other than the first 7 variants, it was literally impossible to, given the way the calendar was structured. It was set to only give the player one of the first 7 variants, and the 8th variant was pretty much locked behind. No reason why, I don't think, other than bad coding on HHQ's end, but it was broken for a few years before they just ended up deciding to remove it entirely, which obviously is pretty sad. I think the gift calendar is one of the most nostalgic things in this game for me, and I think a lot of people could relate to that. But when it came to the 8th variant, it wasn't able to be given out normally, so players decided to use third-party programs to tinker with the game into tricking the game into giving them an 8th variant, which is where we started to see a slew of these 8th variants start taking over the game. You know, stuff like black socks, magenta gingerbread pie, red candy cane horns as well, or icicle horns I should say, and even Jamaaliday candy cane horns as well. Those are 2 items I forgot to mention, which were insanely rare at some point, just pretty much spawned in the masses essentially, and just traded out for, you know, those hackers to profit off of. It was an insane time to be around on Almujam when that was happening. I do remember still when this happened. I remember I had black socks the day of when this started happening, because I knew a friend of mine that was able to do it, and I ended up collecting trade attempts. By the way, I will say that I didn't end up trading these black socks, by the way. I didn't want to profit off this, but I ended up getting trade attempts for black socks back then. I'll throw it on screen, and it was insane. People wanted these items very badly, and they would pretty much do anything to try to get them. And it wasn't even the clothing items that was this only limited to. The den items were also flawed in the fact that when it showed up on the calendar, it would display the first variant of the den item every time, but it would give you the second variant every time, and you couldn't get anything else but the second variant. The first variant was just locked as a display, and the second variant was just what it gave out at you, and there was no way for hackers to alter this, from what I know, at least not in later years. I don't know if something changed in the calendar that made it so in earlier years when it was available. Some people were able to hack in certain items of it, like the poofy rug with the face on it, put in the comparison of the normal version that you would obtain through the calendar and the glitched variant, or the unreleased variant with the face on it that you would be able to obtain. The one with the face on it being the unreleased variant that people were pretty much obsessed with as well. And this could be said for a lot of other den items. However, the poofy rug was the only den item for quite a while that was Jamaaliday themed, that was unreleased. Then we started seeing stuff like the Holly Archway, I think it's called, and the fountain and stuff. I'll put like all of them on screen right now. A lot of these were obtained by a recovery method through HHQ. They would just give the default variant of den items by default. So a lot of these variants that were never in the game beforehand ended up being in the game through the recovery system. And some of these, you know, are still considered to be unreleased. I'll throw like a bunch of them on screen right now. These are the ones that are still considered to be unreleased. This list is taken from item tracking. However, all the other ones ended up released in stores, so they're pretty much worth nothing now, but it's still a good time to reflect on. For me anyway, you know, the Holly Archway, it was one of a kind, and yours truly owned that for quite a while, until people started spawning them in, and then I was very bitter about it. But regardless, that is pretty much the glitchiness of the Jamaaliday gift calendar, and I think that's pretty much to do with the glitched part section of this video anyway. Lastly, I want to talk about Jamaaliday den uncommons, because this is also a pretty big topic in terms of rares in this Jamaaliday season anyway. A lot of these den uncommons that are Jamaaliday themed are pretty rare for absolutely no reason. Another one that was, you know, pretty rare last year or the year before and ended up getting released was the candy cane ornament. These were like, some of these, like the yellow, the light green, and the dark green one, were few of a kind. That's how little people bought these and how like obscure of an item this is, or should I say was, because it's obviously released in the stores now. But this wasn't the only item here. I have traded over some of the items here from my alt, but first here, the Jamaaliday stocking ornaments. I have more of these on my alts, but I think the yellow one is considered the rarest out of these ones, the stocking ornaments here, and then the dark green one, and then the rest are just, you know, hard to come by. I have no idea why this is, you know, considered to be rare. Probably same as the candy cane ornament. Just hardly any people bought them, and then they just suddenly became rare one day as people started to collect them. I collected a lot of these like a number of years ago, by the way, so I had a lot of them before they were even like worth what they are now. I think I traded like probably a couple den betas or even clothing betas for a lot of these, and people just kind of willingly gave them over because I was just collecting them at the time because I love them. You know, I love Jamaaliday items, and especially when it's hard to come by den items, you know, I'm your guy. I love the den items. Same thing with the Jamaaliday window here, and I think the planter kind of goes hand in hand given they're kind of in the same style here. I think the yellow one is considered to be the rarest, or maybe the dark green one. I don't really, you know, keep up with those anymore, but you know, typically the dark green, light green, and yellow versions of most items in this game are going to be considered the rarest because not a lot of people like lime green as a den item. So that's probably why. Green is just a very unpopular color. Same with yellow in terms of den items anyway. And then the same can be said for the planters here, which I love planters. I think dark green was considered the rarest. I don't know if that's changed since I've stopped collecting den items, but purple is my personal favorite. So that's your bit of tech trivia for this video. But I believe there is other ones like this ice skates that people consider to be pretty rare. I don't know if that was given out in the Jamaaliday season. It's a winter item nonetheless, so I will talk about that. I do have those just on an alt account. I forgot to trade them over because I was focusing on Jamaaliday in the name. And then same with the ski lift. I'll throw that on screen. Typically the yellow, orange, dark green, you know, green variants are considered to be the rarest of those. You know how it is with these den items. That's kind of just how it is when I'm still uncommon collecting in general. But yeah, that's kind of it. And why do people keep spawning in my empty world? That's pretty much it with you know, Jamaalidays and rares and just weird items in general when it comes to this season on the game. It just creates some of the most rarest items in the game for no reason at all, for some reason. But I do love this season on the game. I love the Jamaaliday season. It's one of the most nostalgic moments for me on the game anyway, so I figured I'd make a holiday special, which I haven't done before, and I thought I'd give a whirl at it and also finally dump all this needless information I know about the Jamaaliday season that not a lot of people know about into one little video for you guys. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up here. Do make sure to subscribe with notifications on if you guys do want to be notified on future videos, as well as videos just like this one. Make sure to leave a like on it if you did enjoy, and let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. And yeah, Merry Christmas guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.